turning 18 should be full of hope and opportunity. It certainly shouldn't be a life sentence to living in poverty, or even worse, a death sentence. But unfortunately, that's what it is for far too many of our youth. Hey, Melissa here from Elev8 Villages, and I'd like to talk today about the reality of turning 18 when you've been in the foster system most of your life. So let's first just talk about aging out. What does aging out even mean? If you've ever heard the term or never heard the term, aging out is what happens when a foster child is in the system and they're turning 18. Now, in some states, that number's actually been increased to 19 or 20, but in the majority of states, the age is still 18. So at 18 years old, they have not been reunified with their family. The parents haven't done what they needed to do to get custody back of their children. Oftentimes, they've just signed over their parental rights to the state. Well, what else could happen if the parents aren't going to come and get their kids? Well, the foster youth are just waiting for that person that they've always dreamed about to come and adopt them. And by 18, that hasn't happened either. So not only did your parents not want you, no one's come along that wanted you. The average amount of homes that youth have been in by the time they age out is 15 to 20. So you've been with 15 to 20 families and none of them want you. Your own parents don't want you. So that's the first barrier. Imagine what that would feel like. So 50% of these youth who age out will become homeless in the next 18 months. And when I say will become homeless, that's on the streets homeless. Many of them, right after they're aged out, they'll maybe couch surf. Some of them have a good enough friend whose parents are nice enough to be like, yeah, they can go ahead and crash here until they graduate from high school or whatever the situation is. Some of them go directly to living in homeless shelters. Some of them have had some pretty proactive social workers, caseworkers, risk counselors at school who've maybe helped them get some vouchers for somewhere else to live. But within 18 months, half of all youth who age out will become homeless. Now, 30% of those who age out, so remember, we're talking 20 to 26,000 youth, 30% of those will be homeless in perpetuity. For the rest of their lives, they will be in and out of homelessness. 30%. After they've had their childhood and their adolescence, probably worst case than any of us could imagine, from home to home to home. 70% of the males will face incarceration. Of all of these youth who have tuition paid for, if they were in the foster system, there's a federal bill that will pay tuition for college. And yet less than 5% of them will ever achieve a four-year degree. And let me tell you, it's not that they don't want it. It's that they don't have the skills, the capacity, or the support to figure out all the other pieces. I'm going to tell you the story of one young, really hopeful teen who'd been in and out of homes. He was in the foster care most of his life. I think he went in at 7 years old. And he was smart and he was determined that at 18, he was going to live his life and he would never be dependent on anyone again. So very resilient, very intelligent. He had been with his mom till he was 8 or 9 when the state finally took him from his abusive mother. But his mother loved him. Like, he always felt her love. And the thing she always talked about, she was in the medical profession, she always talked about how important education was. So he had that going for him. His formidable years, education had just been really strummed into him. So he got himself into college, figured out the tuition waiver, got into the dorms, had the cafeteria card. And I think he had like a work study program. He was getting like $500 a semester, not much, but he budgeted perfectly with his cafeteria card. He could eat, he could go to school, and he had a safe place to sleep. Everything was going great. His first semester was coming to an end. He had fantastic grades. And then winter break started. And he realized that the dorms were going to be locked up for the next month. And he didn't have anywhere to live. So he snuck back in the dorms, but they weren't heated. Cafeteria was closed. And for the next 4 weeks, he realized that this adult living, this world, was a lot harder than a tuition waiver. So without that adult support, it's hard to make it in this adult world. And then add on to that a lifetime of trauma. Add on to that, you've been moving place to place to place. That means your goalpost has continued to be pushed. And how many people who've have you live in their home for a few months take the time to help you prepare for life? In what school is going to take time to help you prepare for that when probably you're going to be moved out of their school district next month anyway? You're that kid. And everyone knows it when you're in a new school. So aging out is so much more complicated than just turning 18 and not having parents. And a lot of this goes way back to why they entered foster care in the first place. How do kids end up in foster care? Well, the first reason is parental neglect. And that parental neglect typically comes because of poverty. The second reason is because of addiction. And then the next reason is abuse. Physical or sexual abuse in the home can get a child removed into the state's care. Then there's parental incarceration. One of the parents or both of the parents, especially now with a lot of single parent households, is incarcerated. Another reason that's pretty high on the list is a parent with mental illness. They may love their children so much, but they can't have that capacity to stay in a protective role. And then there's family instability or violence. These are all things that get kids pulled out of their home and put into the care of the state. Now, often those parents are given a period of time in which they can rehabilitate themselves in some way or go through some program, and they can actually get their children back. But if that doesn't happen, if they miss a court date or they don't complete the school, or their mental illness or their addiction is not taken care of, within a period of time, their parental rights are actually signed away over to the state. So now the state is in control of these youth. They try to find great homes for them. They're put into homes, sometimes individual homes, sometimes into youth homes or group homes. Sometimes they're actually put into like detention centers because there are no other homes for them. Sometimes they're put into homeless shelters while they're waiting for a placement. And then these placements can just shift and move at the drop of a hat. I've heard of kids being in a home for 3 days, 24 hours, a month. Imagine moving. By the time youth age out, now there's lots of youth who never age out because they're adopted or their parents come and get them. But for the ones that doesn't happen, the ones that age out, they've been on average in 15 to 20 placements. I'll tell you what, we moved 6 different states when I was growing up. And that seemed like a lot. And I had the same system. Like I had the same parents every move. I had the same siblings every move. I had the same set of values every move. And yet different schools, different neighbors, different friends, 6. That's all, 6. And I felt resilient. I'm great at making friends. I'm great at just making whatever situation I'm in good enough. But that was only 6 with so much other stability in my life. 15 to 20 different placements, probably half that many different schools. Most of them split up from their siblings. So much disruption in their lives. So much trauma in their lives. Some of the homes have been abused. In the group homes, they're often abused. And no one ever came for them. No one ever said, I've got you. And now they're 18. They're out on their own. Now, often at 18, these youth are hopeful. They're like, if I can just get out of this system, I can make a life for myself. But based on all this past trauma, just the things they haven't been taught, the things they haven't learned, this world is hard. They might get a job, but not have the skills to know that if they're sick, they need to call in. They might not be able to get a job because no one's there to teach them how to have a resume. They don't have a great high school diploma because they kept being moved around. They didn't get to be on student council or on the football team or in drama club. Those things didn't happen for them. They were just trying to survive one day after the other. So aging out is often a sentence into lifelong poverty or a death sentence. 70% of the males that age out will experience incarceration. 70% of the females will be pregnant within the next 2 years. And they'll be facing that pregnancy alone. So while 18 may make you a legal adult, it doesn't make you ready. Besides just the tragedies of what these kids have to do to try to survive, I think the bigger tragedy for our world is the loss of this human potential. These are youth that, if guided right, if given the right opportunities, could do amazing things. It might be the researcher that finds a cure for the disease that will kill millions otherwise. It might be a leader who ignites a nation for a bigger capacity of care. These might be some of the world-renowned authors or artists or innovators. And instead, we're just going to shove them aside and tell them to go get a housing voucher and figure out how to live in this cycle of poverty. We can do better. Elev8 Villages is here to create villages full of care and support, filling in all the gaps that these wonderful humans weren't ever allowed to learn growing up. They'll have a place where they're seen. They'll have a place where they have a voice. They'll have a place where they are celebrated. I'd love for you to come along on this journey with us. So please subscribe to the channel. Think of one person in your life that might be interested to know what we're doing. And go ahead and share this video with them. Until next time, let's make a world that's better for everyone.